if a new state has to be formed, what are the things to be done? Of course, mass movement is the one which pressurizes the ruling class, which pressurizes the governments and creates an opinion in the society to heed to the demand. Means the demand will become a just demand and people's demand, and you will start the process. But the process of formation of a state is a constitutional process. You cannot just make through the mass movement. Who has to make or create a new state? The parliament. So, for the creation of a new state, parliamentary process is inevitable. We have seen in 1969 agitation, the mass movement was so high, it reached to its peak. There were so many martyrdoms, so many people sacrificed their lives. The whole Telangana society burst into agitation. But in spite of that, one person, that is Indira Gandhi, was not ready to heed to the demand. Indira Gandhi and the political dispensation of those days was not ready to accept the demand. And ultimately what has done? What is the result? The whole movement watered down to a political process, mere political process, entered into elections, and Telangana 𝗪𝗪 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 formed and finally merged with Congress, with completely stopping the whole movement without having the traces of it. Now we are talking about the movement in 2000s. We have seen the new phase, the last phase of the Telangana movement entered through a mass movement stage from an intellectual activity and debate. And finally, when it has reached to a point, there need to be a political party which has to take forward the political process to the logical culmination. In our Indian history, we can see some of the parties are formed for the creation of state itself. For example, you can take the example of Jharkhand Mukti Morcha in Jharkhand, Assam Gana Parishad in Assam. Of course, Assam Gana Parishad's demand is not for the creation of new state, but it is for the safeguard of the demands and the interests of the Assam. Assam Gana Parishad's birth was an offshoot of the movement of Assamese, especially ULFA, United Liberation Front of Assam, ran a serious mass movement, and offshoot of this entire movement is Assam Gana Parishad. Though it is not for the creation of a mass movement, we have witnessed a huge public response, and public gathered around Assam Gana Parishad and made a student leader the CM. The student leader went directly from the law college hostel to the Chief Minister's office. And come to Jharkhand, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, started by Shibu Soren, was trying to make the voice of the tribals of Jharkhand region visible, audible, and it ran the movement for decades. And unfortunately, for a long time, when the movement was at its peak, it could not succeed. In Uttarakhand, you have a joint front for the formation of the state, but there is a specific party, but it did not come to power. Uttarakhand Sangharsh Samiti, USS. All these parties are coming in the wake of the public demand, people's demand of new state. So, here in Telangana, the mass movement has entered into a stage where you need a political party. Again, going back to 1969, in 1969, the huge movement, the huge people's demand of 1969 created an organization which is known as Telangana 𝗪𝗪 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧. But Telangana 𝗪𝗪 𝗧𝗦𝗧, first it's a agitational movement, agitational organization, then entered into a phase where this Telangana 𝗪𝗪 𝗧𝗦𝗧 became a political party and went into elections. Left the mass movement behind and went into elections. Finally, nothing is left for us to talk about it. Now, we are again standing at a juncture. There is a need of a political party which is exclusively born for the idea and the creation of a new state. There fits the bill a party which is coming in this phase, that is known as Telangana Rashtra Samiti, founded by 𝗂𝗽𝗃𝗃. Today we will be talking about the TRS and the political movement entering into a new phase. This topic includes the beginnings of TRS until the last phase or last stage of the final phase, that is 14F issue. After 14F issue or 2009 Chidambaram's declaration, we can see a huge change in the political process. It is TRS plus all the other parties and Telangana forces, mass organizations, people. So, this topic today I am going to cover from the birth or inception of Telangana Rashtra Samiti till 2009. So, what is the background for it? See, there is a need for a political party for Telangana. That's what we have discussed just now. So, mass movements can bring people's opinion onto the street. It can make a public outcry visible, audible for the rulers at Delhi. But for the formation of state, the constitutional process is there. It has to be debated in the legislative bodies, means lawmaking bodies, that is assembly or parliament or the union cabinets has to take a decision to make it into a bill and finally make it into an act and put before the parliament. This is entirely a constitutional process. For that you need a strong party. That is where we are in search of a political grouping. And what about the conditions for the realignment of forces? As we have seen, Telangana movement has brought in many forces. Forces from right to left, extreme right to extreme left. For example, if you talk 1969 movement, Arya Samajists were there. They are not extreme right, but still a reformist organization. But Jansangh-like forces are there. To some extent, some people participated in that. And come to extreme left, Naxalite movement is also part of the Telangana movement in 1969-70. Though it is not directly participating, it has an impact on this. The rising Naxalite movement and the cadres who were in 69 movement are coming into Naxalite movement, we have seen. So, in this process, many sections of the Telangana society are coming into the Telangana movement. Basically, in the last phase we are talking, what has happened after 1969? Intellectual group activities are the beginnings. As we have seen at Khairatabad Natakala Press, Kaloji Narayan Rao, Jayashankar or Prabhakar or Harnath or Lakshman or some people are gathering and bringing out pamphlets. And gradually entering into a next stage where we have seen 𝗂𝗏𝗍𝗃 Sabha, Warangal Declaration, Suryapet Declaration, all these bigger movements. So, all these things have changed the whole phase of the movement. So, intellectual group activity to mass movement, and finally, 𝗂𝗏𝗍𝗃 Sabha is the first biggest meeting where thousands of people rallied in the name of Telangana demand. And from then onwards, we did not look backward. We did not see or we did not stop anywhere. Mass movement is the character of the Telangana movement from here. So, large scale mass mobilization is there. This is the situation in the ground. And what is happening on the side of the government? Chandrababu Naidu, who was in power, was the main person who is bringing the liberalization or privatization policies under the globalization. He was directly taking all the World Bank policies into the governance, and finally, what has happened? We have seen the hike in power tariff. We have seen privatization of the industries. All the best industries which are profit making, which are for people, which give employment, were privatized. So, these effects of liberalization and reforms were badly showing up on Telangana people. PSUs are being privatized. For example, the greatest example is Nizam Sugar Factory, which is which is the important source of livelihood for the people in this Nizamabad, Kamareddy, this sugarcane belt. And it was sold. Workers are losing jobs. Farmers are at the mercy of the private companies. Migrations are happening on a large scale from the towns or villages to cities because you don't have employment opportunities, you don't have livelihood in the village. So, there is a popular saying in the last phase of the movement, always we said when we talked about migration, three things are there for our Telangana people. which provide employment. One is Bogubai. Bogubai means coal mines. Mumbai, again going for some livelihood in these textile factories or some jobs, or Palamur labor going as construction labor in Mumbai and these areas. Third one is Dubai, Gulf. So Bogubai, Mumbai, Dubai. So this formulation we can see about our migration. And weavers were depressed completely. There is no respite for the problems of the weavers. They were committing suicides. And on the other hand, we can see Naxalism. Naxalite movement has grown into a big movement in Telangana. It was making its impact on the society, impact on the feudalism. Feudalism is almost defeated in the villages. And because of the strength of the Naxalism, again, the state government is unleashing, it was unleashing terror through its police force. People were subjugated to different terror tactics. They were arrested, they were harassed, parents were harassed, beaten up, and their livelihood is completely shattered. And youth are suspected. Even having a book, Jananatya Mandali songs book with them would have been a crime, and you will be booked under TADA. And such terror conditions were prevailing in Telangana. In this background, again come back to other things like in the rural areas, like irrigation, lack of irrigation facilities, minor irrigation neglected. You lost all the irrigation sources which were there since our ancient times or early medieval times, Kakatiya periods. Tanks gone and wells dried up and going for bore wells. And at this juncture, the reforms are coming. And electricity reforms is one such big reform which is initiated by the World Bank and implemented by Chandrababu Naidu, which has really created panic in the countryside because of the hike in tariff. And they said no free lunches. So everyone has to pay hike in tariff, and you don't have power supply. Without power, you can't irrigate your land. So finally, there was a serious crisis in the countryside, and people when protested at Bashir Bagh, there was a firing, as we have already discussed. This Bashir Bagh firing has created some what you call stir in the society, not only among the people, among the political people also, political parties also. So, at this juncture, at this point of time, Professor Jaishankar, who was having a clear idea about how the Telangana movement can be taken forward, Professor Jaishankar had a clarity about Telangana movement, because he has seen from 1952 till date, till the formation of TRS, we are talking. So, in this entire process, he could understand the dynamics of the movement. So, he was clearly saying that from RSS to RSU, means extreme right to extreme left, whoever comes for the formation of Telangana, whoever is for Telangana, let's unite. I want to unite them. And he continued his task whenever there is an opportunity. Whenever the movement is on the lowest ebb also, he never discouraged. He never got discouraged. He continued these efforts, group meetings and those things. Finally, we can see in 2000, when the mass movement has grown in size, grown in the volume, and people are coming out onto the streets in thousands for Telangana, Professor Jaishankar found KCR a potential candidate, a potential leader to lead the movement of the next stage. 𝗳𝗏𝗃𝗃, 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, 𝗂𝗶 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, the Deputy Speaker of Assembly, in a letter to Chief Minister, said, see, we are having a troubled times in Telangana rural side. The plight of the farmers is very, very bad. So, the letter by KCR to Chandrababu Naidu, a person in the government, in the political party, ruling party, writing or showing his dissent is a signal that everything is not right in the party. And at least the person who has written, that is KCR, is ready to realign with the Telangana movement. This is a signal. And immediately Jaishankar and his fellow activists like Ghadayinaya, V. Prakash, all those people who were involved in the next phase of Telangana movement met KCR in October 2000, and there were intense debates amongst them for the preparations of the Telangana movement to take it into the next stage. Remember, Jaishankar was the convener of Telangana 𝗧𝗦𝗍𝗍. By this time, we have seen the mass movement into two streams. One is Telangana 𝗧𝗦𝗍𝗍, the other is Telangana Janasabha. These are the two biggest streams. Telangana 𝗧𝗦𝗍𝗍 is initiated after the 𝗬𝗏𝗺 declaration, and many forces who were into Telangana 𝗧𝗦𝗍𝗍 were ready to go into elections. The other force, that is Telangana Janasabha, was not into Telangana elections or anywhere. They were not ready to go into elections. In this background, those who are ready to go into elections, jump into parliamentary electoral politics, took the opportunity and met KCR, and thus a new phase has been started. For 7 months, as I said, they held discussions to prepare the stage for launching of a political party. People like Professor Jaishankar, Madhusudhanachari, Gade Innayya, Professor Biyala Janardhan Rao, V. Prakash, Santapuri Raghubir Rao, Singireddy Niranjan Reddy, all these people were having deliberations, discussions how to proceed further. And at this point of time, the Supreme Court gave an order to the TDP government to conduct the elections to local bodies, that is ZPs, MPP and your panchayats and all those things. At this point of time, the people who are holding discussions were ready to launch a party around this time, means during the local body elections. You see, all the parties which are forming for Telangana before were not looking at the elections as an apt time. It is the mass movement which will be held, despite of whether elections are there or not. But here, elections are the important source, elections are important fields to fight out. That is what the people now we are talking about are thinking. That is why they took the opportunity and they thought that elections, local body elections is the right time to launch the party. And the people, these people who are organizing themselves into a new group, invited many in TDP, Congress to join the new party whenever they start, because people has to understand the importance and understand the waning away of the impact of Telugu Desam government. The CEO of Andhra Pradesh, 𝗬𝗏 𝗧𝗦𝗍𝗍, his impact on Telangana society is so bad. So in this background, if political parties or political people has to understand the situation, they have to align with the new party. If I look at the interview given by KCR immediately after the 𝗬𝗏 𝗧𝗦𝗍𝗏 of Karimnagar to a site, he says, I have been deliberating on the issue for the last 18 months or so. I have spent close to 3,000 hours discussing the issue with intellectuals, experts, lawyers, other professionals, academics, students, businessmen and other sections of society. Actually, there is no other section because he has covered all the sections. So 3,000 hours of debate, discussion about Telangana. A lot of thought and planning has gone into working out the strategy for the movement for a separate Telangana state. Means they are thinking of a strategy. The strategy is participating in elections and pressurizing the governments to make the resolution for Telangana. That is important. The formation of 3 new states, that is Jharkhand, Uttaranchal, then it was Uttaranchal, now it is Uttarakhand, and Chhattisgarh, recently rekindled the aspirations of the people of Telangana, he said. This was an interview given immediately after the Telangana Simha Garjana at Karimnagar in 2001. So, after making these preparations, on 27th April 2001, the party, Telangana Rashtra Samiti was launched. TRS, Telangana Rashtra Samiti. This party was launched as a Ujjamu party, agitational party. Though elections is a main strategy, the main form of your struggle is agitation and pressurizing the governments at some critical junctures like voting or formation of government. This was the basic idea behind formation of a political party in terms of participation of elections. So, 2001, they have formed a political party at Jaladrishyam. Jaladrishyam, the residence of Konda Lakshman Bapuji, who gave his residence to Telangana 𝗧𝗦𝗍𝗍 people. Telangana 𝗧𝗦𝗍𝗍 was running its office from Jaladrishyam. So, at Jaladrishyam, he started this office, that is TRS meeting was held. Huge gathering again. It is not a small thing because already he was in power as the MLA from 𝗧𝗦𝗃𝗃, as the Deputy Speaker, and he was a minister in state government under N.T. Rama Rao and latter too. So finally, the influence of KCR in Telangana parties, TDP, and some of the people who are active in Telangana movement, everyone gathered, and at 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 the party was launched. You can see the photograph, a rare photograph, the first photograph when the party was launched in 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧. So on that same date, he resigned to the post of Deputy Speaker, MLA, and primary membership of Telugu Desam Party. Since then, he was the member of TRS, leader of TRS, and again, every time he was going to People's Court, he was going to elections asking vote for Telangana formation, not vote for TRS. Voting for Telangana formation is a concept always in all the elections he was doing. Remember this. Till the last phase, that is 2014 also, you can see voting for Telangana formation, voting for a new Telangana after the formation of this one. So Telangana formation was the agenda in the elections. That is the major aspect TRS has brought into Telangana politics. Voting for Telangana formation. Remember this word. Other mass movements are making the agitation, making the Telangana movement or demand popular. It is not little, it is not a small effort. It has its impact. It is on one side and this is on the other side. So this is the idea of Professor Jaishankar, combining the mass movements with the parliamentary political maneuvering, parliamentary political dynamics. So mixing mass movement with parliamentary political activism. So this is the basic concept of Professor Jaishankar, which was brought into reality by TRS. Understand this as the core philosophy of the entire activities of Professor Jaishankar and KCR. So, after declaring Telangana Rashtra Samiti, KCR planned 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Sabha at Karimnagar. Remember, at Karimnagar he is starting major activities. Whenever he is starting, he started 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Sabha in Karimnagar, again going to elections from Karimnagar, starting all the meetings from Karimnagar, so that he is pointing out the entire movement from North Telangana's one of the important center. In South Telangana post 1969, why he is focusing on North Telangana? This is very interesting. This is my analysis as a student of political science. The analysis we should do is North Telangana's political scenario is completely different. South Telangana after 1969 got colonized to a larger extent. For example, you take the surroundings of Hyderabad city and Medak district, you can see up to Sangareddy, you can see up to this one. Lot of colonization was done because of the influx of the Andhras into entrepreneurship, into employment, into businesses, into many things. So, in this background, North Telangana is still unaffected in that sense. And North Telangana, very important is, North Telangana is politically volatile because of the intense Naxalite movement in North Telangana. In South Telangana, it is a little bit less. So, keeping this in background, the movements will help, one movement will help the other movement. And Karimnagar is standing apart from the other centers, and Karimnagar is becoming the focus or the fulcrum of the entire thing. 17th May, he declared the meeting, that is, a meeting was to be held at Karimnagar in the name of 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Sabha. On 11th May, as part of preparations, the TRS flag was hoisted in hundreds of villages. TRS has brought in some new things into people's minds or into society. For example, pink is the color. Most of the political parties never used this pink. This is a unique color TRS has brought in. So pink color, and the cassettes, he brought in many songs written by Suddal Ashok Teja and some of the people who are into Telangana activism or Telangana, they know the heart of Telangana, soul of Telangana. Those cassettes were released. So a creation of complete, a background was being done before Karimnagar Sabha. So From on 17th, they took a rally from Jaladrishyam to Karimnagar. En route, there was a huge response from the people, rousing welcome by the people. Professor Biala Janardhan Rao, R. Jayashankar, or K. Chandrasekhar Rao, all these leaders who were traveling in the whole route were completely inspired by the reaction of the people, inspired by the welcome of the people, the aspirations of the people. You can see when the whole caravan, this rally was being taken from Hyderabad to Karimnagar. So this is the first, what you call, measurement or first indication of the mood of Telangana. Means they are ready to welcome anyone who is talking about Telangana, who is going to make this Telangana a reality. So the first public meeting was a grand success, and as we can see, K. Chandrasekhar Rao or KCR, who is a great orator, he can attract the masses through his speeches because of his understanding of the pulse of the masses. He knows the pulse of the masses, talking in their own language, taking the idioms or proverbs from the people's life and explaining it in a very, very casual manner. It is not a format which is completely a, what you call, pandit-like or a scholar-like. It is the people's language he speaks. And since then, no looking back for the oratorial skills of KCR. He was speaking in the people's language and people got attracted. That is why even till date, whenever KCR is going to speak, there will be an very, very prompt silence to listen what he is saying. Means the people's language. This is very important for a political leader, for a mass leader. So he was speaking on the plight of Telangana, farmers' plight, their suicides and irrigation facilities and lack of all the facilities or lack of employment in Telangana. So the need of the political party he was explaining in Karimnagar through Karimnagar meeting, that is 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Sabha. Shibu Soren, who was the leader of Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, came as a chief guest and he also got inspired. And in this meeting, Jayashankar, Gadayannaya, some people who are into the first preparatory program of the TRS spoke at length, and they have explained their intentions that we are going to start a party, and this party is going to be the party for the Telangana formation. And with the success of this meeting at Karimnagar, immediately the sequel, means there was a continuous meetings held in the month of June at Mahbubnagar, Nalgonda, Nizamabad, Nirmal, Warangal, everywhere. They continued the series of meetings, and with the series of meetings, we have seen the impact growing inside the Telangana society, where people are getting the pulse or people are getting the understanding that now again our movement has to be taken into a higher phase through mass movement plus political process, because this is a political party which came for Telangana. What were the political parties? Congress and TDP are there. Their agenda is not just Telangana. If at all Telangana TDP or Telangana Congress leaders are talking about Telangana, it is not the main agenda. It is part of the agenda at times, that too. If at all there is a pressure from the people, you will be talking about it. Otherwise, you don't. So, in this background, if a political party is coming for Telangana, people are accepting it. So, this is the thing. And immediately, within the 3 months of the launch of the party, elections to local bodies were held in July 2001. So, a short notice, actually 3 months, and local bodies. Local body elections are always intense because few number of voters and everyone will be knowing each other, and intense thing. Then individual things are primary in local bodies, but TRS could make a dent in that understanding. Though individual people, individual relations play an important role in local bodies, TRS won many seats. TDP, so at this point of time, a national magazine has written like, the TDP cycle hits the T factor, trough, as the Jilla Parishad polls deliver a rude wake-up call for the party, wake-up call for TDP. From here onwards, you can see 2001 to 2004, TDP, which was in a strong position, no opposition, and the nose diving or the sliding down of the power of TDP in Telangana, you can see from 2001. In the local body elections, TRS won 87 ZPTC, 100 plus MPTC and 2 ZPs. Santosh Reddy got elected as ZP chairman of Nizamabad. 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝗁𝗺 got elected as Karimnagar ZP chairman. And next, in the month of August, Panchayat elections are done. Many sarpanches who were supported by TRS, because it is indirect election, won the seats. And finally, KCR, who resigned from the MLA seat from Siddipet, again contested and re-elected in the by-elections. Thus, we have seen the whole process from political formulation, that is need of a political party, to starting of a political party and facing the first elections successfully and becoming a registered political party in the spectrum of political parties has begun. So, TRS now is there as a political party, and TRS is here to stay from here onwards and taking different strides in different movements, and thus Telangana Rashtra Samiti formation is a change in the Telangana political movement. In the next class, in the next episode, we will be discussing the other aspects of TRS from this point till 2009 declaration of Chidambaram. Telangana Rashtra Samiti formation and its first electoral victory, that is in the local bodies, has inspired the Telangana society and the party and the people who are behind it, because within short time they garnered the support of the people in terms of votes, in terms of the expression of the people's intention or people's demand of Telangana. So this has created a very good impact in the beginning. This is it's a very good beginning for TRS. So what has happened? Once you are a political party, you are into the people's court, your activities are in the society, everyone can see. Now, two things are must. One is the gains of the party in terms of the victories or in terms of mass mobilization has to be consolidated into a party. A party should be strong organizationally so that there will be no problems, no different opinions or feeble voices, and it will hamper the agitation. Second thing is you should do continuous activities, taking up the issues of the people. It is not just one thing, that is elections. If you say we want elections, so we vote for us, then we will get Telangana, this mantra will not work. So what will happen? People will get vexed up, you are begging for mantras, votes. So you have to take up the issues of the people regularly, every time, every day. You should be part of the people's life. Then only the agitation of Telangana will sustain. So in this background, we have to see how Telangana party, that is TRS, is getting consolidated. TRS organized a meeting for the cadres in Sriram Sagar project area, and for a few days people were taught the basics of TRS ideology. And at this point of time, when people are completely engaged in their consolidation of the party ideologically, and Chandrababu Naidu government has unleashed the tactics of harassment onto TRS, because he could see TRS is gaining power day by day and people are joining TRS. When KCR and other people are inviting the colleagues, ex-colleagues in TDP or some people in Congress, those who are for Telangana, everyone is gradually looking towards TRS. So Chandrababu Naidu has unleashed the terror tactics or the high-handedness, you can say, that is attack on Jaladrishyam. Jaladrishyam originally the place of Kondalakshmana Bapuji. It's a place which is in litigation. Actually, someone who was there, whose original property of a Muslim Nawabi property, and that person gave part of it to Kondalakshmana Bapuji for his, as a fee or as a remuneration for the legal activities, and Kondalakshmana Bapuji was there, and still the process or the property was under litigation, and without giving a notice and everything, the government has sent police, attacked the Jaladrishyam office, that residence, and evacuated the TRS office, thrown everything out, and without any notice they are taking the revenge for the initiation of political party and getting what you call giving a blow to TDP's what you call pride in the local bodies in Telangana region. So, in this background, 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 attack on 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧, and the first within few months you won victories. At the same time, you are under the ire of the government, you are under the target, you are under radar of the government for attack at this point of time. TRS is taking up issues like the people's issues. Telangana, see, important issues are employment, people's farmers' plights, weavers' plights, irrigation issues, and these things. In March 2002, they have taken Nagarjuna Sagar lift irrigations issues related to lift. People should get water in the left bank canal. See, we don't get in the left canal Nagarjuna Sagar. Every time you get water into right canal, and left canal is always dry. So, the issues of left canal. Then, seeing the plight of the weavers, suicides, they are committing suicides. So, TRS organized a भिक्षाटना, begging to highlight the issue of peasantry, weavers. So, they went for begging, collected money, and at Bhudan Pochampalli Weavers Colony, TRS leaders gave 50,000 per the deceased families. So, thus they were highlighting the weavers' issues in Telangana. And Pallebata. Pallebata is another type of program, another interesting program where this is a mass orientation. TRS will go into the masses, go to villages and live there, sleep there, or organize meetings and take the ideology of TRS into the villages. This Pallebata was organized between September and October 2002. And at Bhupalapalli, they have organized a meeting in the name of New Power Project demand. So, New Power Project, why? Because again, water and power, these are the two important things we discussed during the Telangana movement in the last phase. But an important movement we have to talk about is Jala Sadhana Ujjamam. Jala Sadhana means achieving the rights over the water. Telangana has two great rivers, Krishna and Godavari, enters into Telangana first, then Andhra Pradesh. And many rivers or the rivulets or the streams, Telangana like Manjira, 𝗬𝗎, major rivulets. You can see tributaries of Godavari and Krishna. Manjira for Godavari, Krishna is for, 𝗬𝗎 is for Krishna. This Manjira, Godavari, 𝗬𝗎, Krishna, and you don't have water in Telangana. So, Jala Sadhana Ujjamam started from 25th December 2002, continued till 6th January 2003. It's a very important campaign. In this, it is not just a political activity, it's an intellectual activity, it's a technical activity, it's run, or its core is by the people who know the trade, who knows the technique, who knows the real thing happening. All the retired engineers like R. Vidyasagar Rao, a great man who was completely into Telangana movement with one cause, that is water issues. He was an authority on water issues and discrimination of Telangana in river water sharing. So, R. Vidyasagar Rao, 𝗹𝗶𝗇, Prabhakar, Shyama Prasad Reddy, all these people played key role in this Jala Sadhana Ujjamam. They were giving inputs to TRS, how Telangana is being discriminated, how we have been deceived in water share. All these things. Definitely, when you are sound, when you are arguing something, you should know the nitty-gritty or minutest details of it. You should be able to talk about how the things are getting manipulated by the Andhra ruling class. All these things were discussed thoroughly with the engineers, and they were in the movement. So, this Ujjamam, this movement for water, culminated on 6th January 2003 at Parade Ground, a huge gathering with some guests from outside like Ramvilas Paswan and Shibu Soren. These are the political leaders. Ramvilas Paswan, a national leader, a Dalit leader from Bihar, into national politics, influencing to some extent the national coalitions or alliances. And second one, Shibu Soren, a Jharkhand Mukti Morcha leader. And third leader, very important, this leader, I would like to stress upon another leader who is not a political leader in a traditional way, but she is a leader of the masses in one of the mass people's movement in the recent times, that is Narmada Bachao Andolan, Medha Patkar. Medha Patkar, who was running an agitation, who was leading an agitation for the against the displacement of the people in the Narmada Valley, the tribals and rural people, lakhs of people getting displaced. Medha Patkar, she attended this meeting, Jala Sadhana Ujjamam. Means you can see, now it is not just a political party for Telangana demand and KCR is uniting them. It is different types of people are coming from outside Telangana and impacting Telangana and taking the message of Telangana outside. That is the important thing. In this process, many people joined in TRS. Merger of Telangana Sadhana Samiti. Telangana Sadhana Samiti was started by Ale Narendra, came out of BJP because he was not satisfied with the efforts of BJP for Telangana. So he along with his followers, many of the second level leaders, came out and started Telangana Sadhana Samiti before. And when TRS is formed, with the initiative of Jaishankar and many others, discussions were held between KCR and Ale Narendra. And Telangana Sadhana Samiti merged with TRS in 11th August 2002. And in the entire process, you can see many people, many who and who of Telangana society, important political leaders like G. Vijay Rama Rao, Nayan Narasimha Reddy, K.S. Ratnam, Singret Niranjan Reddy, Captain Lakshmikant Rao, Vinod Kumar, everyone joining TRS as part of TRS. Now their address is TRS. Boyanapalli Vinod Kumar was in CPI, now joining TRS as a TRS activist and continued till date. So we can see the people coming from different political streams and joining TRS. And now KCR strategy or TRS strategy or Jaishankar strategy, whatever you call, is not stopping at the local level or a stational level, making the impact at the national level too, taking Telangana issue to the national platforms, participation in the meetings outside. When Ram-Vilas Paswan has sent an invitation to KCR to participate in his rally, which was being organized in March 2003 at Ramlila Maidan, KCR went in a rally. From Hyderabad, he went in a rally in cars, huge caravan. And en route, he was traveling via Vidarbha. Cross your North Telangana, you are going to Vidarbha. Again, there is a demand for the separate state. Cross it, you reach Bundelkhand, where you have a demand for separate state, and then go to Delhi. So he was going through the places where a demand for separate state is there. The sentiment is there. People are ready there for separate state. So en route, he was looking at the aspects of the separate state. And in Delhi, Ram-Vilas Paswan met Ram-Vilas Paswan, spoke and took the agenda of Telangana onto the stage and met with Ajit Singh, who is for the Harit Pradesh demand. And again, coming back, not by air, but he came again the same route in cars. En route, again back, he met Professor Babulal Tiwari, who was the leader of Bundelkhand movement, Banwarlal Purohit, who was the leader or one of the leader of Vidarbha movement, Vidarbha demand. So the ground is being prepared for the national platform for new states. Meeting all these people means bringing the people who are having the demand of separate state together. So in this background, again, on 27th April 2003, the second anniversary of TRS was being observed, celebrated. And the title of the meeting, you can see every meeting has a title, like 𝗬𝗏 Sabha, 𝗬𝗏 Sabha, Sadhana Sabha, like that. Now this meeting is known as Warangal Jaitra Yatra. TRS second anniversary, Warangal Jaitra Yatra. What do you mean by Jaitra Yatra? It is the victory march. When the movement is starting and again going into the next phase, we call it as Jaitra Yatra. We have seen this Jaitra Yatra in another chapter of Telangana movement, Jagityala Jaitra Yatra. We talked about Jagityala Jaitra Yatra when the Naxalite movement has entered into the grassroots and organized the villages against feudalism and organizing a huge public rally in Jagityala in 1978. That is Jagityala Jaitra Yatra. And this is Warangal Jaitra Yatra. We see many similarities in Naxalite movement and TRS movement, because I am clearly saying that as a social science researcher, we should know the ideological background of the activists. Most of the activists are coming from the democratic or left movements. When you have the lineage or the heritage or the legacy of the left or democratic movements, definitely the forms of struggle or names you can see. That is what I am trying to assert on this place. So it is Warangal Jaitra Yatra. Ex-PM Devegowda attended this Warangal Jaitra Yatra. Ajit Singh, Professor Babulal Tiwari, Banwarlal Purohit, all these were guests. And As this part, next is National Front for New States was formed. On 9th September 2003, a national seminar was organized in Delhi, and there Ajit Singh, Banwarlal Purohit, that is Vidarbha, Babulal Tiwari and Raja Bundela representing Bundelkhand movement, Shibu Soren, Jharkhand attended, and by this time Shibu Soren, Jharkhand is a reality. So the inspiration is there. At the same time, these leaders are discussing about the formation of new states. KCR was elected as the convener of the new formation. So this is the first platform for the new states. Then it is again talking about the agitations here. There were many agitations, mass movements and agitations in this period, like Rajouri Banda Padayatra. At Rajouri Banda, the borders of Mahabubnagar, Kurnool peasantry, Rayalaseema people were forcibly taking the water from this Rajouri Banda diversion scheme region. So, breaking the pipes and diverting the waters to Rayalaseema, that is Kurnool. And these things are very bad in this region. So, Rajouri Banda Padayatra, May 23, 2003, issues of farmers of Nagarjuna Sagar left canal, then Kolhapur, Kolahalam and Nagar Kurnool Nagada or Nagara to strengthen in Palamuru, because in South Telangana there is some weakness still for TRS. So all these things. Apart from this, next about the employees issue, agitation for the implementation of 610 GO. 610 GO dates back to N.T. Ramarao period. N.T. Ramarao issued the 610 GO, but it was not implemented. Again, a committee was appointed known as Girglani Committee. Girglani Committee also said that there are many violations. Send back the people from there to their original states, original places, and appoint the locals, that is Telanganites. But it is not also getting implemented. In this background, agitation for 610 GO is happening. There was a house committee appointed after Girglani Committee report, and there was a discussion or debate about free zone. Hyderabad is gradually, these people are making it as a free zone. Thus, KCR was discussing before the House Committee against this free zone. Free zone issue in the last point of this class we will be talking about, that is 14F and all those things. You can see the beginning of free zone issue here. Then cultural activities, cultural aspect of discrimination. Pushkaralu, whenever you have Pushkaralu, very, very, very blatant discrimination. Andhra ruling class had Pushkaralu or celebration of Pushkaralu every time in Andhra only. Godavari enters into Telangana, Krishna enters in Telangana, and a huge length they are running in Telangana, but Pushkar Ghat or Pushkaral are not being celebrated in Telangana. If Godavari Pushkaralu, you go to Rajahmundry. If Krishna Pushkaralu, you go to Vijayawada. Is it not the river which is in Telangana? Is it not Krishna which is in Telangana? Is it not Godavari which is in Telangana? This is what KCR has asked. This is what KCR has brought into the debate. TRS has brought the debate into this, discriminating even the religious activities. And now you can see with the force, gradually Pushkaralu are being celebrated in Telangana too, by constructing the Pushkar Ghats officially by the government. So these are the things happening. And come the interesting twist or turn in the history of TRS. In 2004 elections, TRS is gaining power. In 2004 elections to the states. Now TRS, in the last Warangal meeting, the strength of the TRS or Hyderabad meeting, the show of TRS could be seen, could be felt from Delhi. Sonia Gandhi was serious about the alliance with TRS to get Congress back into power, because for a long time Congress is out of power in Telangana, in Andhra Pradesh. So TRS attracted, and Sonia sent her emissary Azad for alliance. And finally, after a lot of deliberations, KCR or TRS or Jaishankar's argument is only one thing: bring Telangana into the agenda. If Congress is ready to take up the agenda of Telangana, they are ready to go or forge alliance with Congress. So Congress manifesto also brought in the statement, Congress will respect the opinion expressed in States Reorganization Commission. What was the opinion expressed in States Reorganization Commission? It was to have Hyderabad separately till Hyderabad accepts, or the 2/3 of MLA accept after 60s. So this was the opinion. So essence of SRC opinion is Telangana as a separate entity. So, not completely satisfying, but as compulsion into elections, TRS accepted this statement and finally they went into alliance. TRS, CPM, CPI with Congress. This alliance could get the seats. They captured power from Chandrababu Naidu, that is Telugu Party. TRS was allocated 42 assembly seats and 6 Lok Sabha seats. Out of it, 26 assembly seats were won and 5 Lok Sabha seats were won. KCR and Narendra joined the Union Cabinet and 6 TRS MLAs joined YSR Ministry, YS Rajshekar Reddy Ministry, Congress Ministry. First time TRS started in 2001, becoming a political party in power in 2004, 3 years. In 3 years, it could make a dent in the political understanding of the established ruling parties. People with Telangana demand came to power. That is what we have to understand here. So, in the center, Telangana demand was included into the common minimum program of UPA. President Abdul Kalam reiterated, or he read out a statement saying Telangana will be formed at an appropriate time after proper consultations and consensus. So, this is first time in the parliament a statement is being made in favor of Telangana. This is the first achievement constitutionally we can say. So, 2004 parliament is witnessing the statement about Telangana, which was not done in the past 4 decades. That is the first achievement as a political party. Then, YS Rajshekar Reddy, who is there as Chief Minister, was the hurdle. He misrepresented or misinterpreted the word consensus. Consensus does not mean that everyone on the face of earth should accept it. Majority are ready for it, that is consensus. But misrepresenting or misinterpreting the word consensus, he was creating hurdles. So, though they joined the coalition, ruling coalition at the center and the state, TRS was still pitching, was still striving for the political process to create Telangana. But there is a hurdle in the form of Rajshekar Reddy. So, finally, Congress in the center has this is the first step actually. There should be a committee to look into the matter. A subcommittee was formed to look into the demand of Telangana, that is Pranab Mukherjee committee was formed in March 2005. And that committee, after dilly-dallying, lot of debate, lot of delayed tactics, finally they were taking the opinions from the political parties whether they are in favor of Telangana or against Telangana. So, when they calculated in one of the articles, Mallepalli Rajam's trust, that is memorial meeting published, or a meeting was organized in which Professor Jaishankar was talking in the last phase. In that book, he says 440 MPs were in support of Telangana in the parliament. It is more than enough, but still there are hurdles for Telangana formation because the Andhra ruling class, which is representing as the Chief Minister, that is YSR, was against it. So, finally, vexed with the delay, vexed with the non-implementation of the promise in common minimum program and all those things, TRS party withdrew from UPA. Not only this, YSR was making creating some problems, like there is a proverb in Telugu that is 𝗹𝗁𝗃𝗀𝗁𝗃. Means if you want to push out a person from your house, you create many problems, you create many hurdles, you create something where you need not say go out of my home, but you will say you push away. So, anti-Telangana policies of YSR in the state was one important aspect for coming out of the thing. Then talks with Naxalites discontinued, again repression in Telangana grew, and TRS ministers in the state resigned from the party, from the government, from the cabinet. There were 6 ministers, Harish Rao, Vijay Ramarao, all these people were ministers. These people resigned from the cabinet, and so now again going on an agitational path. On 17 July in Warangal, they held a huge public meeting to explain why they came out of government, because they asked for votes to go into the government and make the Telangana dream a reality. Now they are out of the government, so you have to explain the people. So TRS organized a meeting which was attended by Sharad Pawar, and he said he was hopeful of Telangana formation. So, but it did not happen. Again, in the center also, 23rd August 2006, KCR and Narendra resigned from cabinet, and he resigned from the cabinet, not only from cabinet, for the MP seat also, because they were talking as a referendum. YSR said, go again into elections and you will see you will lose. That will be the referendum for Telangana. KCR took the challenge and again went into elections. KCR contested from Karimnagar and wins with a huge margin, huge majority, 2 lakh plus votes. So what is a referendum? If you have to accept the defeat, YSR should accept that the referendum is for Telangana. But he didn't. So he continued his tirade against it. So in October 2006, Siddipet Samara Shankaravam was organized. 2006, Nallagunda Telangana Atmagaura Sabha was organized. So in this series, you can see many activities like Telangana Samburalu held in 2007 March, Nalgonda Nagara April 2007. In this Nalgonda Nagara, very important, in Nalgonda you have a huge problem of fluorosis, and KCR took up the issue of fluorosis and made it as a public agenda. Already some people are working on it, but still making a political agenda. So KCR toured fluoride affected areas, and implementation of, again, another movement for the implementation of Sachar Committee report for minorities. Singareni coal workers issue against open cast mining, and Singareni Bogugari Karmika Samakhya was formed in 2004. Vidyarthi Garjana in 2007. All these things are the political activities, mass activities. And in 2008, since nothing is happening, KCR tried to force elections again, saying that we are ready to go back to the People's Court and we will ask the people to re-elect us and show that Telangana is a reality. But this time, the strategy could not work. The by-elections was won by the ruling class, that is ruling party, and the strategy failed, and KCR won with a less majority from Karimnagar, and many of the MLAs, sitting MLAs, lost the seats. So almost 8 people lost the seats, only 10 people got re-elected, like that. So there is a setback in the Telangana movement in TRS. Next comes 2009 elections. This is very important. Mahakutami was organized, constituted by TRS, TDP, CPI, CPM. TDP, first time it is taking up the mantra of Telangana. TDP stand changed because of the compulsion. Telangana is completely different. Talli Telangana Party, which was merged with TRS in this period. Vijayashanti was the leader of Talli Telangana Party. She merged Talli Telangana Party into TRS. Nava Telangana was merged in Prajarajyam Party. And the realignments are happening in Telangana, you can see. On one side, Congress-led ruling class is there. Congress is there. And on the other side, you have Mahakutami, TRS, TDP, CPI, CPM. And Congress is gone, TDP entered. First time TDP is talking about Telangana. Chandrababu wore the pink kanduva and saying, Jai Telangana. So thus, TRS could successfully make the agenda of Telangana the agenda of all the people, even the opponents. That is very important in the elections. So, in Telangana, all the political parties included Telangana achievement as in its manifestos. But the elections of 2009 is a setback again. Why? Because Prajarajyam played the spoil sport. They have divided the anti-incumbency votes and Mahakumbhatami lost. And at times, you can see even the TDP vote share completely not shifted to TRS. So TRS also lost very badly. Only 10 assembly seats were won in these elections. Thus, 2009 elections is again the lowest point in the history of TRS. Post 2009 elections, for a few months, there was turbulent times inside TRS because Operation Aakash, this is a popular word for the shameless act of getting the people from other parties. This Operation Aakash was launched by Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy and some people were taken into Congress, and thus this turbulent times, a few months, but with the accident of Rajshekhar Reddy's helicopter, there was a complete 𝗧 change in the political scenario in the state. And finally, September 2nd, Rajshekhar Reddy's death in the helicopter accident. October 2nd, Kurnool floods, and Roshaya became the chief minister after September 2nd. So from September 2nd to December, there were the serious turn of events, speedy turn of events, and finally, the Supreme Court verdict on 14F, that is, Hyderabad becoming the local zone and police employment or many employments in the Hyderabad is becoming open, and employees got dejected with this. Telangana employees opposed it, TRS opposed it. They have organized 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 𝗧. Employees organized 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 𝗧 and culminating finally into KCR's fast unto death. And fast unto death, we will be discussing these activities and this phase in the next class. So, KCR's fast unto death, and finally Chidambaram's declaration on 9th December. And 9th December declaration was the first step in the formation of Telangana. Though short-lived, it has again boosted our spirits, but very short-lived. Immediately with the crisis created by Andhra rulers, Andhra ruling class, again it was taken back on 23rd, again going into the what you call limbo, going again into the delay tactics. So finally, TRS led the JAC, Joint Action Committee was formed, and TRS is an important constituent in the JAC, that is Joint Action Committee of Telangana, political JAC we call it as. So 2009 to 2014 is the history of TRS in JAC, history of JAC along with TRS. So the last phase of the movement we will be discussing in the other chapter, waves of agitations, different bigger phases, finally culminating into Telangana formation. This is the story, this is the activities of TRS in this phase. To conclude, how do you conclude the whole period? TRS history should be concluded like this, like combination of mass movement with political activity by influencing the parliament. This is the strategy of Jaishankar. TRS played the role of a political party with a change of tactics based on the situation. Whenever there is a change of situation, TRS changes its tactics. Then next, TRS throughout of its 10 years of initial journey focused on agitations to pressurize and lobby for the Telangana formation at the center. Pressurizing and lobbying, this is the main weapon TRS was saying. KCR clearly said, lobbying is my weapon. So, last, KCR's charismatic leadership could inspire masses and strengthen the party. So, inspiring the agitation on one side, strengthening the party on one side. These things are the major, what you call, characteristics of TRS till this phase, that is till 2009. In the next class, we will be talking about the intensified agitation and the last phase of the movement, different forms and all those things culminating into the dream of Telangana becoming